You're listening to the TalkBox with Sonja. You're listening to the TalkBox. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the TalkBox with Sonja.
Good morning, you guys. Rise and shine. It's your girl, Sonja G, here on the TalkBox. And you know what we say? Every day above ground is a good day. We got another day, another opportunity to get some things right that we didn't have quite right on yesterday. We above the dirt, and the dirt ain't above us. And therefore, we have permission and authority to live an abundant life. And today, I got a special guest in the building. We got Terrance Akins with us today. Woo! Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you.
Good to see you.
It's really good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Oh, likewise.
Well, I know. Well, this morning we're talking about something that's really serious in this season. We're talking about faith leaders. Where are you? And my question to you is, where are the faith leaders?
That's a good question. That is a very good question.
So when we're thinking about the faith leaders in our community, when I think about the old times and when I was being raised, we were raised by a community. If I got a whooping at my neighbor's house, I got a whooping at home as well, got taken to the front of the church and everything like that. The
whole community got you.
Yeah. The whole community. And so what's going on now? What do you think is going on?
Right. So that's the big question now. So we do know that it's not all churches too. So when we're talking about where are the faith leaders, we're talking about them showing up in what type of capacity. And what type of capacity we talking about with criminal justice reform. We're talking about with social justice. We're talking about in the political arena where predominantly the churches are absent. They're not showing up. They're not getting involved in, the fight and the struggle. It's like they forgot about the very instrumental part that the Black church played in the civil rights movement and how they showed up and how they was along with the people right there, marching along with the people for justice, for equality, for equal rights, against discrimination, against the racial biases. They were very, very instrumental in having a voice in doing even the commission of Jesus. So we're talking about the faith leaders. Where are they when Jesus made that commission unto his believers, unto his followers? He told them in Matthew 25 to go out and to feed the homeless, to clothe those who didn't have clothes, to look out for those. But he also said, he didn't just mention those that's in the hospital, sick and the shut in. Like the church good for going and say, we're going to pray for the sick and the shut in. They'll mention them in their prayers. They'll say we're going out and passing out food plates and food baskets. But where are they when it comes to visiting those who are in prison, caring for those who are in prison? And the United States is the nation that has the greatest incarcerated population out of all nations in the world. But where are they showing up in there for those who have been forgotten and discriminated and going through the criminal injustice system all alone by themselves? All alone by
I like the way that you said the injustice system. Right. I do know a little bit of statistics where people, Black and brown people, are incarcerated in such higher levels than anyone else. As a matter of fact, I was watching something just this weekend with a white man explaining that the justice system has been injustice for a long time. He mentioned a story about himself, him being a white man and pulled over, and him and his coach him and his
Right.
debate coach had
Yeah.
drugs in the car and they were pulled over, but they were let go.
Right.
And
Right.
he asked the question, would that have happened had I been black or brown? And the
Right.
answer was no. So,
Yeah.
and then we got people who are incarcerated
Mm-hmm.
for small amounts of marijuana, when statistics
Right.
say that white people smoke marijuana just as much, if not more, than the black
Right.
person. So that's a
Right.
great question. Where are our faith leaders? Where are those that are needing to be standing up for especially our black and
Mm-hmm.
brown boys? But I
Yeah.
tell you, one of the problems is we're having taxation without representation, even
Right.
in 2025, because what's
Right.
going on is nobody is. We need to get on the ground level. We need more black and
Right.
brown people, I feel, to run for city council, to run
Right.
for the mayors of these cities. You know, it's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy that
Mm-hmm.
a predominantly black city will have all white school board members, all
Mm.
white city council, and that's a
Right.
problem.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge problem. And we're saying so this is second chance month. This is the month of second chance as designated for second to nationally, right? And we talking about second chance, we talking about incarceration, we talking about redemption, we talking about forgiveness. Where last month we just ended the session here in Tennessee, because we're in Tennessee. So in the state of Tennessee, where we was, and I'm a minister, and I just use the word minister as a man of God, a servant of God, but love God, and we was showing up in court, right? So we filed a bill. I was working with this nonprofit organization who was fighting to get the life sentence overturned in the state of Tennessee. Granted, the state of Tennessee is the only state that still upholds that 51 was a 60-year life sentence and still upholds that incentive that was given by the administration in 1995 through Bill Clinton to get quote unquote tough on crime. So they increased their life sentence. Act, mind you, they already had a death penalty. Tennessee already had the death penalty. Tennessee already got life without parole. So they got life with parole, which is still, after you do your time, after you get good credits, so that 60 years goes down to 51 years. But who is surviving a 51-year life sentence? That is three death penalties. Three death penalties in the state of Tennessee. Tennessee received the incentive money back in 1995 to get tough on crime. But it was never about crime. It was never about public safety. It was all about capitalism and money, the modern day slavery. So that's what all it was about. Work, free labor, all still about free labor. And how can they capitalize in the city where we get these private owned prisons and got these
Mm.
private owned prisons that's making money off warehousing these bodies, which I was part of that. So we went on, we fought to get the bill to be reduced just to 25 and to 20 years, 25, 20 year sentence to give people hope. To give people hope, because remember, you already got a death penalty. You already got life without parole. So you got life with parole, which gets 60 years. So we say that no one's living that. They admitted, we're talking about our people that we have voted for, the legislators. The city, our legislators, our representative of justice, our representative of fair, our representatives who supposed to be in the best interest of the community. But who are they really in the best interest of? Who are they in the best interest of? So it came out. So we had the sponsor of the bill was sitting here. She agreed with it. She sit here and confirmed the fact that Tennessee took this money. It was all not about safety, but this is back in 1995. So we got one of the state senators from Memphis, because we know that they're highly incarcerated at a way disproportionate rate in Memphis too as well. So she brought up all of these issues of how it was injustice and it was wrong. And a lot of the others went back and actually corrected it. They said even Bill Clinton administration admitted that they was wrong for incentivizing it, that increasing that penalty did not make the community any more safer. It did not solve a problem. Matter of fact, it incarcerated people at a way disproportionate rate who was black and brown, and it was an injustice and it was a mistake. It was a mistake, but the state legislators said, okay, yeah, it was a mistake. Maybe they went back and changed it. Maybe all of these states changed it, but that don't mean we have to change it. That don't mean that they acknowledge the wrong and the injustice that was done, but still refuse to overturn it. but still refuse to overturn their life sentence. So that means that people are in prison who have been sentenced to life will die in prison because they're with life with parole. But again, if you go in at 18 and you go in at 20, after 51 years, what type of, if you survive that,
Yeah, if you
if you,
survive.
if you survive that, and then we know that it wasn't never about being tough on crime. It was never about making our community safe, because when has them getting tougher on crime ever really made anything better? Anything? The homicide rates are still, some crimes have went down, but the majority of them are up. And we realize that harm of incarceration is perpetual, that the prison industrial system was a trap and a system set up within itself that our Constitution, according to the 13th Amendment, upheld. So it was just another form of slavery where they can get cheap later. Because remember, the 13th Amendment said what? It didn't never, that's supposed to be the amendment that abolished slavery, right? But what did it do though? No, it says slavery is illegal in this country with the conjunction it threw in that in unless if one is duly convicted of a crime, then they can be your slave. Then you can own them. So everyone literally in the state of Tennessee or anywhere that is in prison up under our Constitution is legally constitutionally a slave.
Well, let me tell you, this reminds me of something. I have a really, really dear white friend who let me know something, and it really blew my mind when he said it. He told me, he said, Sonja, for every rule we white folks made and make, we make 2 rules to get around it. One for our children, one for ourselves, and one for our children. And we make rules so that we can stay on top. And for him to tell me that, number one, I admired his honesty. Number one. But number two, it made me really think about what's going on in our society. And I have another friend who is a judge, and me and him had a very heated debate because I was going to lunch with him one day and decided to sit in his courtroom. And while I sat there, he sent all the white folks home, and all of my black and brown brothers and sisters went to jail. And so we had a very heated debate. But what I realized about him, and I'm not trying to take up for him, but what I realized was he was doing it unconsciously. Because when he got back to the back, I've been knowing him for years. So we had a genuine conversation. He said, Sonja, no, I wasn't. He said, no, I would never do that. You know, I would never do that. And we had his secretary bring in the cases to show him. And he was flabbergasted. He was like, oh my God. I said, because of the way that you were raised, it's embedded in you. So we need our white brothers and sisters to get intentional about some stuff. Because you don't know the struggle, because they're not paying attention to our struggle. And it's really sad. So what do we do? What do we do, Minister Akins? What do we do?
Well, there's a lot that we can show up as faith leaders in the faith community, because a lot of the things that go on down there within our city hall and within these prison systems are being done. If you want to say that people don't know, there are some who don't know, there's some who don't care, and then there's some who want to act like they don't know what's really going on. But we can really show up. There's so many different ways. Like when I was incarcerated myself, I spent 17 years on an illegal sentence. In prison. When I got incarcerated, beyond the bogus charge, the illegal charge, my mother had a mental breakdown. We lost everything in our family. We lost me from the community. I lost all hope. But there was certain little small churches who got involved, who came into prison, who did prison ministry. There are certain churches right now, little small churches and little organizations that's showing up at these courts and doing court watch. and doing court watch to make sure that you actually can go into these courts and monitoring what's going on within these courts to make sure that what is happening, what happened to me, doesn't happen to happen to someone else. There's a where you can get involved when we showing up in the elections. How do we show up in the election? How do we show up when, just as well as when they said it back in the day when the churches were showing up, when they said that it was illegal or it was wrong for us to discriminate, for us to sit on the back of the buses, or for us to the Jim Crow laws. It was wrong for that. It was wrong for the injustice within the schools. So when we showing up at these courtrooms, when we showing up when they're passing these bills, just think about that. Just think about that. If we're showing up and we're holding our legislators responsible, we're holding them accountable, because when they showing up during the election season, they giving all of these promises. Where are we holding them accountable for that? Where are we showing up at that too as well? So there are a lot of family members who've been impacted by incarceration. They're sitting in your congregations. They're sitting in your church. They're sitting in the church pools, and it's especially the predominantly black church, the black family who goes to church, that black mother who is struggling, trying to raise 3 kids of their own, and 2 of her babies are locked up. Are there support groups in these churches that's rallying around these mothers and the impacted family? Are the churches getting involved with the school to prison pipeline, where they're funneling babies through the school system to the prisons? Where are they showing up? And they can't say that all of them do not know, because they're showing up in your pews. The churches are not having these conversations where we're saying that predominantly of our race have been impacted by the community, when the churches are supposed to be the pillars of the community, but the churches are missing the black and the brown men, and we know where they're at. We know that when a mother is crying and said, well, my son was just locked up, or you got the little baby showing up to the church ministry and to Bible studies, and they saying, well, where's the daddy? The daddy's locked up. Or where's the brother? The brother's locked up. How are they making sure that the reentry and the process with us transitioning from prisons back into the community are welcome? When they can't get jobs, or when they discriminated against, where they can't get jobs, or they can't go into the housing, so they're forced to contribute to the homeless population, because society and there's policies that's in place that if you got a criminal record, you can't live here. You can't live here. So there are no second chances. So what our church is stepping up with jobs and resources and helping the families out and going to visit those who are in prison. And visiting those who are in prison, there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot in this, like I said, in the state of Tennessee, the churches can show up. They could just think if the churches would have flooded the Cordell Hall building, we was trying to get that life sentence bill reduced. What if the churches would have said that was wrong? We say that it's wrong, that people have a right to a second chance, that even though y'all said in God we trust on your money, and we step in the courtroom and you make us take a right hand and swear under oath on the Bible that we're going to tell the truth on the oath, so help us God. But your policies and your laws are not reflecting God. They're not reflecting God. So how are we ensuring that they're holding up justice for that, going out into communities, praying over them, starting more things where they're going in with real rehabilitation and real redemption coming from God and the love of God, because the system don't love us. The system don't love it. The system was created for our demise. The system was caused to reduce us, especially black and brown men, to being less than human beings. But where are the churches to restore that human beings, to restore those families, to step in and knowing that 80% of the youth that's incarcerated have a mental health problem, but we are the healing. But we are the healing. So where are we showing up where there's mental health issues and where they're incarcerating mental health? And what are we showing up in prevention? Because they know there's a cause and effect. There was systems in place that was designed that led to incarceration, like still concentrated poverty, like still the addictions. Where are we showing up in that capacity? We'll flood the churches on Sunday morning. I'm not bashing the church. I'm urging the church, because when we was in that courtroom, it wasn't nothing but about 20 of them, and that was nonprofit organizations, but there wasn't no faith leaders. We had to embrace those mothers who lost their children at 17 and 18 years old, who them legislators said that they would never get out of prison. They'll never get out of prison. We had to embrace their tears. We had to comfort them. But what that would look like if the churches was there to console them. Those mothers, those broken hearts. We are to heal the brokenhearted. Christ commissioned us. Christ
Yeah.
says to remember those who was in prison, because remember, Christ was in prison up under the Roman Empire. Just think, Christ experienced the most excruciating capital punishment there have ever been. When they marched him from hall to hall on that cross, and they spit on him, and they mocked him, and they tormented, and they whipped him with all of them lies. Christ was an innocent man.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. They brought false witnesses. Do you know how many people in prison are innocent? How many people are getting let out of prison after done 10 and 20 and 30 years in prison and have to prove their innocence, but their lives are gone.
Yeah.
Their lives are gone.
Yeah.
I was a 17-year-old boy as a sheep sent to the slaughter all by myself. All by myself. And there was so many more like me. We started a life risk ministry before I got out of prison called Life with Life. And God said he said, those are still my children. He said, I know the thoughts that I think toward my people. I want them to have a future. I want them to have, I restore the future that the enemy took from them. The enemy come to kill, steal, and destroy, but I come to redeem and to save lives. So these lives that have been thrown away, these lives have just been housed at the cities I forgot about. I have not forgot about them. And I told my church not to forget. I told my body, the body of Christ, not to forget about them. Not to forget about them. But are we showing up in the capacity that Jesus will be pleased?
Well, I think we need to think about this too. Yes, we were commissioned as the body of Christ to take care of these people. But on Judgment Day, you know, the question is going to be asked: Did you go to the prisons? Did you visit the sick? Did you do all these things? Well, no, Lord. What answer are we going to give as the body of Christ? What answer are we going to give that we think is sufficient? You know, I was recently at San Quentin prison not that long ago, and it was so good to see some of the people that I had seen, some of the men that I had seen in 2019 before COVID that were given life without parole. But 3 of them that we prayed over in 2019 was free when we went in this year. And so it was good to see people out, but that is minuscule these days, the ones that get out. And so we do need to do better. I believe I go to the prisons. I am actually trying to start a prison ministry at my church. But listen to what I said. Start in 2025. The church 100 years old. Okay. So I'm trying to start a prison ministry, but even with myself, I feel like I don't do enough because I was incarcerated. But I wasn't like you. I did my crimes. I did mine. But still, we need to give back. And there's so many times that it's not that hard and it don't take up so much time. But we have gotten so selfish nowadays and so self-centered. It's all about me and mine. But when it hit your house, you know, when it hit your house, because most of us are impacted some kind of way. I just had a nephew sentenced. It might as well be life without parole. He was 17 when the crime was 16 when the crime was committed. And it's sad.
It is. It's sad. And like they're steady passing. See, it's not about justice. It's really not about that. And we know that there are harms that have been committed. Like, even though I didn't do the crime that they accused me of, I participated in it to a certain degree. And I accepted full responsibility. We understand there are certain harms out there in our community and certain things that lead to incarceration. We still in a system that has targeted those black and brown bodies. It's still getting paid off these black and brown bodies. So they're passing bill like in the state of Tennessee, in which we suppose have a governor that said he believes in second chances and being restorative, right? But how you gonna let them pass a bill confused? It's the truth and sentencing bill. The truth and sentencing bill would do away with certain charges. It had done away with parole. It's done away with good time. So now you're doing all of your time day for day. So if you get caught with a charge and it carries 5 years, you're doing 5 years day for day. There's no earning good time with that. There's 5 years you're taking away from your family. If you get caught with 10 years, sentenced to 10 years, 15, 20 years, you're doing that day for day. Day for day. There is no getting out early on these charges. In Memphis, we again, it's majority of us in these prisons, it's majority of crime, cause and effect. You got poverty, poor school system, poor families, poor all type of systems where they're funneling these bodies steady to these prison systems. Well, far as the juveniles are concerned, far as our youth and far as our babies are concerned, they just passed a bill too as well, where now you have to go through certain procedures to bound the youth over straight to adult court, because I got bounded over. So you have to have a hearing and you have to prove certain criteria in order that has to be met in order to bound the youth over. Where in Memphis, they doing away with that. They're saying now you can just bound them straight over. You don't have to have a hearing in Memphis. If they 16 years old, if they're juvenile, you can send them straight to adult prison. They don't have to have a hearing no more. They send our baby straight to adult, and they know the dynamic that especially the black family is up against when it comes to the system that have been put in place as leading to incarceration, because there's a cause and effect. We're going to these kids and babies still raising themselves and got to get out here and fend for themselves in the broken communities that they made, in the drug-infested communities that our government made, because we didn't bring guns over here. We didn't bring drugs over here. All of that other things that contributed to our crime and incarceration was planted in our neighborhood. It was set up for a system so we would fail, so we would end up in prison, and we would have these strikes. We would have these felonies, so we would be stripped from the right to vote. We would be disenfranchised, so we wouldn't have no power or no say. So when it comes to making these laws that you're talking about are racially disproportionate, when it comes to blacks and browns and whites and that, so they created all these laws. So now we got the record, we got the system, so we have no hope, we have no second chances. So we don't have all of the systems against us. We know that, and as a people, we still broken. And as a people, we still need to heal. As a people, we need to get woke. But it still is a responsibility for the church, for the faith leaders to get involved, to intervene in this, to intervene and restore, and to restore the practices, for the church to get involved in that. And like you said, Christ is going to say to us, where are you? Because remember when he said in Matthew 25, it is going to come a day. It is going to come a day when I say, when you ask, well, master, you ask a father or whoever Jesus or God is to you, when he comes to you, he asks you, I saved you, I loved you, I cared for you, and then I anointed you, I gifted you, and then I told you to go back, and I told you to do unto me. I told you to feed me. I told you to clothe me. I told you to visit prison. Then they're going to say, Christ, when were you ever in prison? When were you ever in prison? Or when did we not see you naked? And Christ going to say, all of those bodies that was down there in Memphis at 201, all of them bodies and those families that was at Hardman County, that was at Whiteville, Tennessee, that was at South Central Tennessee. Did y'all not see on TV what they was doing to the prisoners at Trousdale? At Trousdale, did you see all the bodies that were being murdered and raped in these prison systems? Did you not see that on the news at Trousdale? It was right in your face. And what did you do about it? That was me, because God said, I created life. We created all in the image and likeness of God. God so loved the world, but our system didn't love them. So he put the love of Christ in us for us to go and love the world like Christ loved the world. But when we see these bodies on TVs and these mothers crying, and we saying that there's no injustice, and she's gonna say, well, when did you step in? Yeah. And when did you love on those babies? In Tennessee, they just built a camp. They want to call another juvenile facility that can house twice as many bodies down there. They want to call it a campus. That's a prison. Yeah, that's a prison. That should have been a community center. But that's another prison for our babies. And we know who finna fill them bodies, who finna fill them beds up, my sister. Yeah. We know your church members' sons, daughters, because now more young ladies are being incarcerated now too as well. all those bodies got to be accounted for, and those harms that have been done have to be accounted, and we're gonna have to answer for that. So I don't want to bash, but I want to urge to get involved and to show up and to show up and to answer that call.
That's right. That's right. Well, Minister Akins, I really definitely have to have you back on real soon. This is a very important topic, and we all need to do something about it. But yes, how can we get in touch with you if we need to get in touch with you, sir?
Yeah, so you can get in touch with me in a few different ways. Like I said, I am the founder of No Life Youth and Community Wasted, the NOYCW. You can go onto my website at www.nycwlove.org. You can reach me there. You can email me also if you want to get in touch with me. Email that will be blessed, BLESST at NLYCWINC.org. You remember that. You go to my social media site, Terrance Akins on Facebook. I am the messenger on Instagram. If you want to go reach me at the messenger, that's DA_MESENDJA for Ja at the end of it. You can reach me on Instagram, my sister. Yeah,
all right.
You always.
I love you. I love you. I always enjoy spending time with you. You guys, I do thank you for coming on. Y'all need to go ahead and share this live. This is valuable information. It impacts all of us, our children, our grandchildren, our granddaughters now. And so we need to do what we can. And I just want to cry this morning thinking about our black and brown little boys. So anyway, I just want to thank you for coming on today. And just in case you guys don't, you're welcome. And just in case you guys, y'all see it on his website on the screen, you can get in contact with him and he'll help you navigate through being a help. Well, you guys, I'm your girl, Sonja G, here on the TalkBox.
Sonja G.
We'll see you.
Yeah. God bless you all. Peace and love. I hope to see you there. Showing up.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, listening to the TalkBox for sign. Yeah, listening to the TalkBox.